All right, the review. Here we go. We got a little quiz tomorrow, but you'll do fine. So let's go through this review. So before I start, let's go back to this. This is in exponential form. If it's a fraction, if you have a base to a fractional exponent, the top number would be the power, and the bottom number of the fraction would be the root. So if I take a look at number 1, the 4 is the root, 4th root, and the 5 is power. So it's the 4th root of x to the 5th. That's all you have to do. Number 2. When you multiply the same base, you have to add exponents. So here's the problem. We have a 5/4 plus 2/3. So we have to add fractions. Well, okay, I put 5/4 plus 2/3. I need a common denominator to add fractions. So I just take, and I know that a common denominator between 4 and 3 is 12. So I can make 4 goes into 12 3 times, 3 times 5 is 15. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8, so I add the 2, 15 plus 8, I get 23/12. So, x to the 23/12, which could be the 12th root of x to the 23rd. That answer is fine. I just reduced it. Okay, that answer is fine. Okay. Number 3, I want to do just the opposite. I'm going to change it to exponential form. So there's my power and there's my root. So it's x to the 4/5. That's all. And 4, I just have to add my exponents, because I have multiple bases, so I've got 1/2 plus 3/2 plus 1/2 makes 2.5, which is x squared, because of the x squared, and then the square root of x, okay? Number 5, if it is negative. If it is negative, okay, if it is negative, then it's, if it's a fraction, 1 over, it's a negative exponent to the 5/4, okay? Fraction, 1 over makes it a negative exponent, okay? 6. I think we're going to make this extra credit, but I'll go through this anyway. But it's worth seeing. So 16 is a base 2. It is 2 to the negative 4 power, and 8 is 2 cubed. So when I brought that one up, I'm going to have, well, let's see, I'll show it a different way, okay? So bring this one up as a negative exponent, so I'll have 2 to the x plus 1 times a 2 to the negative 4 times a 2 to the 3rd. Let's see, that makes a negative 1 with that 1, so it's just 2 to the x. All that just 2 to the x. Wow. Okay. This is probably going to be extra credit tomorrow, okay? All right. These you should be able to do. 32, I like the multiple of 32, I like 16 and 2, because the square root of 16 is 4, and then 3 times 4 is 12 times the square root of 2, okay? So you get 12 squared root of 2. 8, I multiply, and I'm going to get whole numbers. I'm going to get 10. Square root numbers, square root of 25. I take the square root of 25 as 5. 10 times 5 is 50, okay? 9, I'm going to reduce what I have here. 48, I like the multiples of 48 to be 16 times 3. I'm going to leave the 3x on the outside. Leave the 3x on the outside. It's done. But 48 is square root of 16 times square root of 3. And then I took half of 14, and I get x to 7. Now let's see what I get. What else I get? Square root of 16 is 4. Then I can multiply my 3 times 4 and get a 12. I have an x to the 7, and I have an x to the 1, makes an x to the 8th. The square root of 3 cannot be done. It's just an ugly decimal number, so I leave it as a square root of 3. Okay. 10. Because it's a quantity squared, I write it twice, okay? And then I multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is square root of 25. I know the square root of 25 is 5. 4 times 5 then is 20. Okay. If I'm going too fast, just stop it, pause it, and watch it, okay? All right. 125. 125, I can break that up into 25 times 5, okay, because I like the square root of 25. It's 5. I need to take half of this, but it's an odd number. So what I do is I take 1 away from the exponent, 1 away from the exponent, x6, and 1. And then I can take half of that. Half of x to the 6 is x3, and then I put that with a 5. Square root of 25 is 5. Half of that is x3, and what I have left inside is the square root of 5x. Okay. 12. I'm going to keep the 2x to the 5th out. I'll break up 20 into square root of 4, square root of 5. Again, I have to take and make this an even number, so I take 1 away. So I have an x to the 8th and an x to the 1. And then from here, I can take half of the 8. If I take half of the 8, I get x4. Okay, now let's see what's left. The 2x to the 5th is out, times the square root of 4 is 2. So the 2 times 2 makes 4. The x to the 5th is out with an x to the 4th. Those two, you add exponents and you get x to the 8th times the square root of 5x. Okay, because those two are still left inside. 13, I multiply first the outside terms, so I get a 20, x to the 3, because I'm adding next ones. But then I multiply what's inside. Okay, if I multiply 3 times 18, I get 54. And then I multiply the x to the third, x to the 7th, and I get x to the 10. Okay, now from here, what times what makes 54? Leave this stuff alone. What times what makes 54? Well, 9 times 6. I like 9 because the square root of 9 is 3. I can multiply the 3 times the 20 and get 60. I take half, come back here, take half of my x to the 10th, makes x to the 5th. I can add these exponents, x3, x5, get x to the 8th. Now the only thing left inside the square root is the 6, so square root of 6. Okay, turn the page. Again, pause this video anytime you want, but here we go, okay? 14. All right, I'm going to multiply. I'm going to distribute this times this, this times this. So I'm going to multiply whole numbers. I get 5 times 3 is 15. Square root times square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9. And then I get minus, I'm going to multiply this integer times this integer. I get negative 20, but the square root of 3 has to come with it, okay? So what can I do? Well, square root of 9 is 3. 15 times 3 is 45. And this can't be done. Square root of 3 is just a really bad number, so I leave it as square root of 3, okay? 15. I'm going to multiply. I'm going to go 4 times 5 is going to be 20. But I got to multiply because I'm doing a FOIL problem. 4 times 5 is 20, but square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 4. Then I'm going to multiply here. 5 square root of 2 times negative 3 makes a negative 15. Don't forget the square root of 2. So then I multiply the inside. I'm going to multiply the 2 times both of these. The 2 times both of these. 2 times 4 is 8. But I got to bring the square root of 2. So I get 8 square root of 2. And 2 times the negative 3 is the negative 6. Okay, what do I have? What can I combine? Well, I know after all this mess, square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 20 is 40. I can combine these two square roots and make it a negative 7 square root of 2 because I can combine them. They're the same. And I bring down the square root of 6. Okay, now what do I have left? Well, these are integers. 40 minus 6 is 34. And then minus my 7 square root of 2. Okay? All right, 16. Doing a translation. Okay, what do we do with the translation? Let's see. Well, we know, we talked about what the square root of x looks like. We did this the other day, right? We're going to go and we square it. We always use these numbers. We're going to use the square root of 1, square root of 4, square root of 9, because those are the best numbers. Oh, and also square root of 0. We know the square root of 0 is 0. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 4 is 2. And the square root of 9 is 3. Now we're just going to take our parent function. We're going to move it. So we're going to move it to the right. Remember, opposite to the right 2 and up 1. It's the exact same. So it's a translation. The domain changes though, doesn't it, for g of x? The domain changes because now x is greater than 0 and y is, I'm sorry, x is greater than 2, my bad, and y is greater than 1. Okay? All right. Money. Okay, Sally needs to invest $30,000 in a savings plan. There are 2 banks to invest in. Money Bank will give 3%. Simple interest. Simple interest. That's that one. And Cash Bank will give her 2.5 compounded interest yearly. Okay, well, so write a savings account total. Okay, so here's my simple interest. P is the principal. So Sally's got 30,000. That goes for P plus 30,000. The interest rate is 3%, but that's the same as a decimal. 3% we know is 0.03, so I put 0.03 there. Times T for time, so we can use it for any year. If it's compounded, it's a better deal, but they didn't give us much interest. So what we have then is P, which is my principal, 30,000, parentheses 1 plus R. Now, interest rate in this case is 0.025 because I changed it to a decimal to the T power. Okay, then I use my calculator. Plug them in. Here's simple interest, and you can see my calculator. I did this. I just simply went my 30,000 plus my 30,000 times my 0.03 times my 30, because I'm going to do it for 30 years. There's T, 30 years, times 30, and I can answer about $57,000. Okay, I made some money. That's not bad, right? I mean, over 30 years, went from $30,000 to $57,000. Okay, good. But the compounded is so much better, even though it's a smaller interest rate. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in my calculator. I'm going to go my 30,000 parentheses 1 plus my 0.025 right? That's my interest rate, to the power of 30, right? Yeah, a lot more money, huh? Because it's compounded. Now I graph the two over a 30-year period, and you can see the slight curvature. Cash bank should be a curved line, and the money bank should be a straight line, okay? So which is better bank? Obviously cash bank, because you're compounding your savings. Your own money goes back to you. Okay, so that's all I have. We'll take a little quiz tomorrow, and I'll see ya, okay?